of 3.5 and have risen to the top 20% of their class in each college and school in which they are enrolled. To those students, all of you now have the honor of being college scholars, a distinction that will be indicated on your official transcripts, or, as your parents warned you, your permanent record. You will also be awarded an honors cord signifying your achievement. 1,015 of you have the honor of being distinguished college scholars. This means that you rank within the top 4% of your class in each of your colleges and schools. This distinction will also be made on your transcripts, and you will be awarded a medal signifying your achievement. Throughout your time at UT, you've all held yourselves to incredibly high academic standards. To help drive that point home, let me share a few statistics. The average GPA for those recognized today is 3.9182. For our distinguished college scholars, the average GPA is 3.9827. For our juniors who are distinguished college scholars, the average GPA is 3.9942. As you can see, these honors are so competitive that we have to measure them to within 1/10,000th of a grade point. Among all of the excellent students at the university, this group has reached the highest level of academic achievement and distinction that the University of Texas at Austin recognizes. So, to those gathered, let's express our appreciation for them. Because of today's format, that's harder than usual, but we can still do it. We can still make some noise, right? In 1963, the Beatles were asked to perform in front of the Queen of England. At one point during the performance, John Lennon asked those in the cheaper seats to clap along. For the rest of you, he said, looking at the Queen Mother, just waggle your jewelry. So right now, I encourage you all to express appreciation for these outstanding students. Clap your hands, stomp your feet, waggle your jewelry, hoot and holler. Make some noise for these exceptional Longhorns. Students, we're here to recognize you today, but we all know that your accomplishments would not be possible if it weren't for your family and friends. They're the ones who drove you to practice, packed your lunches, helped you with your homework, even before you came to UT. Since then, they've laughed and cried with you on the phone and supported you in so many ways. They believed in you, even when you may not have believed in yourself. It's only fitting that we recognize them. So students, please join me in acknowledging the most important people in your lives, your family and friends. In addition to family and friends, UT staff and faculty have supported you in your pursuit of excellence. Custodians, counselors, and IT professionals quietly enable your education through their diligence and service. And our faculty have the ability to inspire our students in amazing ways. Faculty open students up to new ideas and concepts. They challenge and they mentor. Like your family and friends, they saw your potential and helped you express it. So, as part of Honors Day, we've asked a member of our faculty to share a few thoughts with you. It's now my privilege to introduce our guest speaker, Professor Donnie Ray Albert. Professor Albert is a senior lecturer in voice at UT's Butler School of Music. Now in the 5th decade of a stellar career, he has performed across the world with renowned opera companies and symphony orchestras. On a personal level, Professor Albert has raised my cred within my own family this year. My brother works for the Michigan Opera Theater, and he called to say he was really impressed by Professor Albert's performance in a drive-through Wagner opera that they put on in a Detroit parking garage. A COVID-era pivot, to be sure, but Professor Albert continues to make us proud that he's a UT faculty member. Please welcome Professor Albert.
Thank you, President Hartzell, honored guests, and honored students, parents, family, and friends. It is my esteemed privilege to give you words of encouragement and guidance. As teachers, we are challenged by you on a daily basis to bring forth knowledge. As a classically trained performer, singing is my forte more than public speaking. Therefore, as I challenge myself to step outside my comfort zone, my challenge to those of you being honored today is to step outside your comfort zone. One of the first questions asked at a job interview is, who are you? or it may come in the form of, "Tell me about yourself." It is a momentous question and statement, for the answers we give in learning about each other shows and tells a lot about our character and who we truly are. My question to you is twofold. Did you make your bed this morning? And who do you represent? Now, I borrowed that first question from an admiral's speech, which I heard posed in a similar address. It reminded me of my mother making sure that my brother and I made our beds as a practice to organize our day, preparing to learn something new every day. She made sure that we had breakfast, even though she knew that our school would have a healthy, warm lunch every day. Sounds familiar? The other side of that question, who do you represent, comes from pop culture, rap. Who am I and who do I represent? My biography only tells what I have done and where I did it, and people with whom I've worked. However, it does not say where and how I began building my life. I represent more of where I come from than where I have been. People who made a difference in my life were educators and high school athletic coaches that taught preparedness, ethics, courage, hope, faith, and courage. Now, just a few ideas for you to consider on how you will answer those ultimate questions on who you are and how you represent where you come from. Be prepared. As evidenced by your being honored here today proves that you realize that what is required to achieve success, knowing how to study, being academically prepared, focusing on your goals and indomitable spirit, knowing that what you seek takes passion, talent, dedication, sacrifice, time, and perseverance. All of these elements have been instilled in you through family and teachers. A year ago, we were not prepared for the pandemic. However, we survived by steadfastly applying skills that brought us through an extremely difficult and trying time. We were challenged to overcome our fears and distrust. We worked together to solve many problems. Those of us who began our careers prior to the World Wide Web had to quickly adapt to Google, Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, etc. And just like that, our lives were changed. How many of you can honestly say that when you entered the University of Texas at Austin 3 or 4 years ago, you had a specific plan? Then, all of a sudden, you decided to go a different direction. The goal is to stick to the plan. However, sometimes fate steps in to change everything. Many times I have had students who think that taking voice lessons should be an easy A until they find out how technique is applied. Breathing, body and head acoustics, vocal projection without amplification, time learning languages, figuring out mathematically different meters, dedication to the craft. It is not a quick fix. It takes time and practice. Fortunately, I learned that early enough to switch from pre-med technology to music. I would not have been a good doctor, although I have been told that what we do as musicians serves as medicine for the soul. Be of good courage. Be the fountain that flows with wisdom and knowledge. Do not spring a leak of discord or spread malcontent. Work diligently to solve complex problems. Know your limitations. Don't be afraid to seek help when and where needed. Admit when you are wrong. It goes a long way in confirming that you are human. How do you use your talents to make others better? Have you a sense of justice, fairness, decency, ethics? Be a good citizen. Volunteer. Do not expect payment for everything you do. There were many greed-driven price gouging schemes during the pandemic. But did you hear of the Waxahachie Company that in a single day started producing hundreds of the life-saving ventilators and pressure masks at a time when they had previously made far fewer? They did not raise their price based on demand. Distilleries made alcohol for hospitals instead of whiskey. And there were many, many more instances of our providers working without proper PPE as they worked through the unknown while being away from their families to help the sick. Being morally accountable goes a long way. Be kind, be fair. In my travels, I have often been the only African American in the town, in the audience, on the stage, in foreign countries as an American. You can say, I am an ambassador. I represent 1916 Nebraska Street, McKinley High School, Louisiana State University, and the city of Baton Rouge. I represent Southern Methodist University, my church, my home, and family. I proudly represent the Butler School of Music at the University of Texas, Austin. In closing, I say, aim high, produce beyond expectations, stay focused in every experience on every job. Pray for preparedness, courage, faith. When you leave these hallowed halls, my question to you, who do you represent? As college scholars and distinguished college scholars, you now represent the University of Texas at Austin. Congratulations.
Thank you, Professor Albert. We're extremely proud to have you as our ambassador, representing our great university around the world. As Professor Albert shared, the accomplishments of many of our student honorees extend well beyond the classroom and even beyond the 40 acres. For each student scholar, there's a unique and special story of hard work, commitment, and accomplishment. UT ranks among the very best universities in the world. We have resources for teaching and research that other universities can only dream about. When you graduate, you'll tell people you have a degree from UT, and they will take notice. So remember, you're extraordinary students at an extraordinary university, and that's powerful. But as Professor Albert so eloquently put it, know who you represent. Be humble and servant-hearted. Do not expect payment for everything you do. Be kind, be fair, and I would add, find people to represent. What you've started here has the capacity to change not just your life, but those of others. What starts here can change the world. Next, I'd like to introduce you now to three of your fellow Honors Day scholars. Please welcome Parveena Javadi, James Mismash, and Christian Sunan. Thank you all for doing this. We really appreciate it. Nice to see you.
To see you too. Thanks for having us.
You bet. Before we dive in, maybe you could just take a minute and share what you study, where your hometown is, and what brought you to UT. Parveena, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So I study Plan 2 in government at UT. I'm originally from Irving, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas. And what brought me to UT was honestly Plan 2's interdisciplinary program. I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do when I grew up. So being able to take classes and learning for the sake of learning was really important to me as I navigated figuring out what exactly I wanted to do.
Yeah, thanks, Praveen. I'll tell you, I'm not sure what I want to do when I grow up either, so don't feel bad. James, what about you?
Yeah, I am originally from Waxahachie, Texas, so proud to be where Professor Albert was talking about producing the ventilators. I'm a government and history double major in the liberal arts honors program, and I came to UT for its proximity to the Capitol, the ability to study government at a top institution while being able to put that into practice just a few feet away, and that's been a great experience.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that proximity to capital has pros and cons, as we all kind of realize sometimes. So, Christian, what about you?
I'm studying government in Plan 2, and I'm originally from Plano, Texas. That's where I was born, but I've lived in Austin for the past 14 years, so I've been around for a little bit. I came to UT because it was clear as I was looking through different universities that the faculty here were just so incredibly engaged in their students' lives, and that was I had seen examples of that even before I started as a freshman here. And that was something that I found so exceptional, and it's a trend that has absolutely continued throughout my 4 years here. Faculty are just so dedicated to their students' lives and will give so much to make sure that students get as much as possible out of the university, and that's been one of the greatest blessings in all my education.
Oh, that's great to hear. I've seen lots of stories of faculty rallying in this crazy year we've all experienced to come to the aid of our students and each other. It's been great. Let's go around the horn and talk about something that you've experienced on campus. How have you engaged? What have you gotten involved with? Something that's gotten your passion or your juices flowing. Pravina, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So something that's really been important to me on campus is Liberal Arts Council. In LAC, we advocate for students in the College of Liberal Arts. And it's been really important for me because it's taught me a lot about advocacy and what it means to help people and what that looks like, what that feels like. But also, LAC has done such a great job of making sure the people inside the organization feel included. So it's taught me what it also feels like to be an advocate in a way that is nice and brings joy to other people, which is something that's really important to me.
That's great. And what about you, James?
Yeah, when I think about some of the most impactful moments at UT, I definitely go back to the Normandy Scholar Program that I did back in spring of 2019. It's an honors program for World War II studies here at UT. And the ability to be thrown into something that's so academically rigorous with 18 students who are there with you, kind of suffering and also learning so much together, you form such an incomparable bond of like intellectual interests, as well as just getting to learn and find mentors in your professors in a way that I hadn't experienced before. And it also introduced me to defense policy and being able to see the way that history can play such a grand role in current policy making. And that's kind of where I'm driven today too. So I guess I found my passion through the Normandy Scholar Program and its amazing mentors.
That's really cool. That's one of those ones I hear about and I think I wish I could do that. So that's awesome. Christian, what about you?
Oh, there have been a number of things throughout the years, especially some very transformational courses. But I think the one that really sticks in my mind now is actually a course that I'm taking this semester, which is my last semester at UT. But it's definitely a course that will, I think, set the stage for a lot of my academic pursuits going into the future. But it's a course taught by Dr. Tracy Matisic. She's in the history department. And it's a course on Marx and Marxist theory. And it's the first time that I've looked at, in an academic setting, philosophy as history, and she teaches the development of ideas and the context in which they emerge and the way that people change their mind throughout time. And it's just such an important way to humanize ideas. And I think a lot of the thinkers that we engage with in the class have as their primary project such an intense focus on not being content with leaving things up to mystery or abstraction, but in trying to find as much detail as possible, the structures and the things that influence the way we interact and behave socially and as individuals. And I think that's such an essential thing. I mean, that's why we learn, is to not leave things up to abstraction. And so I've absolutely loved that course and grown a lot because of it.
Yeah, that's great. Something that comes to mind across all three of you is this ability to take these experiences and people around you and those from the past, and then try to find ways to shape the world for the future. And how do we kind of orient ourselves toward a better outcome for all of us? Obviously, this year has been rough And so kudos to you for hanging in there and getting through it. Could you talk a little bit about challenges you faced and maybe how you've maybe overcome those or dealt with those, or what your support mechanisms have been? And Pravina, do you mind going first again? You keep going first, so pros and cons of that. But if you don't mind leading off again, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. No worries. Yeah, it's definitely been a hard year, I think, for everyone. And it's hard to care about assignments sometimes when there's such big national things that are affecting you and your lives and the people around you. Um, I've been really lucky. I've had a lot of resources and support networks that have been important to me and helping me stay motivated, and honestly just giving me the time and ability to do the things that I like to do. So in a lot of ways, the things that have kept me going are like the privileges that I've been afforded, whether that be through my family or just through the luck I've had with the friends I've made at UT. So, it hasn't been easy, but it's definitely something it will change my life, and I'm grateful to the resources that I've had, but I'm also very aware of how lucky I've been, and that's been something I can rely on.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think one of the interesting things would be, how do we all draw upon what we've experienced this year to maybe the next time that something hits us head on, and how do we use that experience to draw from? James, what about you?
Yeah, this year certainly has been tough, and I've been blessed to have great privilege as well, and making it out and having friends and family that have supported me. But as a lot of opportunities have been closed because of COVID protocols or illnesses, I've also been, like everyone else, looking for a series of new opportunities, rising seniors, scholarships, jobs, and multiple Zoom interviews. And so in the past, I think I would take a lot of like the interviews that I've had this year, many of them haven't worked out in my favor, we'll say. And so normally I would look at those and think, oh, that's just something that you did wrong. Like you're not qualified or not fit. But what I've really taken this year for personal growth is to see that each failure is an opportunity to find new growth. And so instead of just like dropping off after that interview or after an application, it's about reaching out, contacting those people, seeing where I can be afforded like a new piece of advice to succeed in the future. And what I've often found is it's not always about whether you're most qualified, it's about whether that fit is right for you. And I find myself now saying that I'm blessed to have failed in multiple times because I've seen that new opportunities have come in front of me that are a much better fit for me, and I'm a better fit for them, which leads to much more positive change.
Oh, it's inspiring. I know a lot of this times people are looking for things, think this is exactly what they want, and then it turns out that's actually not the right moment for them. It's something they feels like as a setback is actually a better outcome in the long run. It's a marathon, not a sprint, as they say.
Absolutely.
Christian, what about you?
I think besides the year-long lack of live music, which has been a tremendous challenge, I think the biggest one is that the situation this past year has made it so easy to go on autopilot. It's so easy to watch things happening around the world and kind of give in to this temptation to just watch the world happen to you instead of kind of inserting yourself in it. We sit and we wait. We waited for vaccines to come out. We waited to see what was happening with different variants of COVID. We waited to see how things would develop, how many cases would arise at any moment in time. And in addition to that, you have all of these opportunities to get involved in your community that are no longer there because in-person things are too dangerous. And kind of the greatest thing you can do for your community at times is just to sit back. And so it's easy to become complacent and to just let oneself sit back and not really approach the world with a kind of constant reflection. And I think the remedy for that, at least for me, has just been to be more intentional about reflection. Don't let things go for granted. Don't go on autopilot. And it's more important to keep that in mind now than ever.
Yeah, a couple of things that at least come to my mind for listening to that is, one is, and the way I think about UT, it is what you make out of it. This is a fantastic place, but you have to often take that step, right, and embrace what's here and take advantage of it. And all of you have, and this group and this honors convocation is a special group. The other thing that hits me about what you all collectively said is, as rough as this year has been, in general, most of us are really lucky. So it's this weird kind of pause of this is not what we expected. But on the other hand, it's brought into sharp relief the ways in which we can actually, use what we have to maybe help others or help each other. So thank you for that. Last question, Pravina, your last opening chance. Talk about what's after graduation. What would you like to do, or how would you like to impact the communities we say what starts here changes the world. What's your dream of changing the world from what you know now?
Yeah. So we're all government majors, which is fun to think about the world around us. But for me, I really hope to make a difference regarding like climate change and environmental justice. It's really important to me as our world start changing and reacts to climate and people become displaced and the government needs to step in. We need to help people that racial justice takes like an important lens in that. And that's something that is really important to what I believe and the kind of impact I hope to make in the future. And I'm not exactly sure how that's going to happen, maybe through city council, maybe through working in nonprofits, but that's something that I really want to make an impact on because we've only got so much time. And that's like really what I hope for the future.
Yeah, well, have no doubt that if you have that as your North Star, you'll find a way. So let's just keep aiming for that. James, what about you?
Yeah, my goal is to get engaged in national security and defense policy out in DC. More long-term, focusing on advancing global democracy and protecting global democracy through the strengthening of our armed forces, and working specifically with the defense industrial base and seeing the strengthening of American technology. So I love seeing Army Futures Command on campus and seeing the partnerships between university education and our defense policy. So working around the budget and seeing strengthening American democracy.
Oh, that's great. We had this big event here yesterday, something like it was called J-Rock, the bunch of generals and tons of stars, if you counted all the stars as far as that goes. And it was like an adult science fair, going from booth to booth, looking at all the kind of cool work that's going on and ways it's from the private sector, from academia, and its application for government or defense. Christian, you're batting cleanup, no pressure. Finish strong for us.
I'll be in the future looking at ways to advance the humane treatment of migrants in this country, problem that we've struggled with for generations, and that unfortunately is really at kind of a critical level now, as it always has been. I think more broadly, when thinking about the question, how do I hope to change the world? I think I'll start slipping into a little bit more of a romantic answer rather than a concrete one, because I think that's what that kind of question lends itself to. But I think each generation has had voices that try to get people, or try to prove to people, that the world is so much richer when we interact with those around us as fully humanized and as experiencing life in all of its depth. There's a quotation from the novel Native Son by Richard Wright that has always stuck out to me since the moment I read it, which is, don't you grant as much life feeling to other people as you have? And I think that's a question that at least in the future of my life, I would like to keep constantly in mind, and to have as many people as possible asking it as constantly as possible, because I think that's the basis of how it is that we interact with other people, to treat other people with as much life feeling as we have ourselves, and to understand the fullness of that experience. And I think the world really opens up when that's the attitude. So I guess if to answer how would I hope to change the world, it would be to be one of those voices in the generation that puts forth those kinds of ideas in whatever way I possibly can.
Yeah, thank you. I think, at least for me, this year has brought into sharp relief that challenge of how do we find those connections and providing energy and compassion to each other when we're doing things this way. So I think it's a great thing to inspire and aspire to. Thank you all for doing this. I know it required you to get dressed up. Your classmates are probably in t-shirts and shorts, thinking they're watching this moment. The magic of the university is really the students, and you're the reason we're here. And so these moments remind me of that. And so I wish we could be in the same room, but at the same time, I'm just proud to have you part of our university. So thanks again, and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
As we draw to a close, let me again congratulate all of you, our student scholars. For many here today, Honors Day is a prelude to commencement. And remember, your honors cords and medallions are to be worn again at your commencement ceremonies as part of your academic regalia. They mark you as exemplary and are an enduring symbol of your outstanding academic achievements. For those of you who will be graduating, I'd like to offer a personal invitation for you and your families to join us for the university's 138th spring commencement exercises on May 22nd. We'll be very glad to see you there, standing with your graduating class and representing the highest levels of academic achievement at our university. Finally, know that tonight, the UT Tower will be lit burnt orange in your honor to recognize your accomplishments and the distinction you bring to our university. And for those who may be on campus, beginning at dusk this evening, the University Guild of Student Carillonneurs will present a special Honors Day concert on the Tower Carillon to recognize you. Thank you all for joining us today for the 2021 Honors Day program. And with that, I'll leave you with a few more of Professor Albert's wise words. Aim high, produce beyond expectations, stay focused, and remember who you represent. Hook 'em.